My father was the poorest man I ever knew, and yet, at the same time, he was the richest. Not rich in money, not rich in possessions, not rich in worldly luxuries, but rich in heart, in sacrifice, in patience, and in love that could not be measured. The world saw him as poor, but I saw him as a king who silently gave away his crown to his children. His life was a tale of unending struggle and unspoken sacrifice, a tale that shaped me into who I am today. We lived in a broken little house at the edge of the village. Its walls were cracked, its roof leaked whenever it rained, and its floor was nothing more than dry mud that turned to sticky clay in the monsoon. My father worked from dawn to night, his body bent from labor, his hands calloused and rough. He never complained, never asked for comfort, never thought of himself. His only thought was USA, his children, his family. Every morning before the sun rose, he would quietly get up, wash his face with cold water, and head out in his torn shirt and worn-out sandals. He worked wherever he could find labor at construction sites, fields, or loading heavy sacks at the marketplace. He had no fixed job, no steady income. Some days he came home with a few coins, some days he came home with nothing but exhaustion. Yet, no matter how empty his pockets were, his heart was always full of love. I remember once when I was a child, I cried because I wanted sweets from the shop. My father had no money that day. He looked at my tear-stained face, and without saying a word, he walked away. Hours later, he returned with a small packet of sweets. Later, I overheard my mother asking him how he managed to buy them. He confessed that he had skipped his own meal and used the little money he had saved for food to buy me those sweets. I didn't understand then. I only enjoyed the taste of sugar on my tongue. But today, I understand the taste of his sacrifice. My father never bought new clothes for himself. The same faded shirt covered his back for years, patched again and again with my mother's careful hands. His shoes were full of holes, but he never complained. Whenever he managed to get a little extra money, he spent it on USA, on my school fees, on my sister's medicine, on my mother's kitchen. For himself, he asked nothing. His happiness was tied to ours. Education was my father's greatest dream for me. He had never gone to school. He could not even write his own name properly, but he believed that education was the key that would unlock a better life for his children. I remember the day he sold his old watch, the only valuable item he owned, to pay for my exam fees. I protested, but he silenced me with his gentle words. A father's time belongs to his children. What use is a watch to me when it can buy you a future? Those words pierced my heart and stayed with me forever. There were nights when we had only one piece of bread in the house. My mother would break it into small pieces, pretending to eat but leaving most of it for us. My father would sit silently, pretending he was not hungry, sipping only water. At that time, I believed them, but later, I realized they often starved so we could eat. That realization broke me from inside, yet it also built a fire in me to succeed, to make their sacrifices worth it. One winter remains unforgettable. The cold winds howled through the cracks in our home, and we had only one blanket. My father insisted that my siblings and I use it, while he slept without covering. I woke up in the middle of the night to see him shivering silently in a corner, trying to keep warm by hugging himself. I covered him with the blanket, but he gently pushed it back and whispered, "Children first, always." That night, I cried myself to sleep, realizing the depth of his love. Despite his struggles, my father carried a smile on his face. He never let us see his tears. But sometimes, late at night, when he thought we were asleep, I heard him talking softly to my mother, worrying about how he would pay for our school or our food the next day. His voice was filled with fear, but also determination. He never gave up. He never allowed despair to defeat him. He bore the storm silently, carrying the weight of the entire family on his tired shoulders. As I grew older, I began to feel the weight of his sacrifices. Every coin he earned came at the cost of sweat, pain, and hunger. I started studying harder, not just for myself, but for him. Every time I opened a book, I remembered his blistered hands carrying bricks, his weary legs walking miles, his empty stomach feeding us instead. He became my strength, my reason, my inspiration. Then came the day when I graduated. I still remember the pride in his eyes when I showed him my degree. He held it with trembling hands, as if it was a treasure. He said softly, "This is not your degree alone, my son, this is my life's work." Tears streamed down my face because I knew it was true. My success was built on his suffering, my future on his sacrifices. When I got my first job, the first salary I earned, I ran home and placed the money in his hands. His eyes filled with tears, his lips trembled, and he said, "Now I am the richest man in the world." He wasn't talking about the money, he was talking about me, about the fact that his silent sacrifices had borne fruit. For the first time in his life, he felt rich not in gold or silver, but in the success of his child. I wanted to give him everything he had been and yet a comfort, food, new clothes, rest. I bought him new shoes, a warm blanket, a new shirt, but he never wore a shirt, saying, "Save it for a special day." That special day never came. His years of hard labor had weakened his body. His back was bent permanently, his lungs damaged, his eyesight dim. He had carried too much, suffered too much, and the cost was his health. One evening, he fell ill and had to be admitted to the hospital. I sat by his bedside, holding his hand, praying for him to recover. He looked at me with a faint smile and whispered, "Don't cry, my son. I lived a rich life, rich in love, rich in seeing you succeed. My poverty never mattered. What mattered was you." His voice faded, and tears streamed down my face as I realized he was saying goodbye. My father passed away that night, leaving behind nothing material, no land, no wealth, no possessions. But he left behind something far greater, his love, his sacrifices, his values, and his silent strength. He left behind the memory of a man who gave everything and asked for nothing. Today, when people ask me about my father, I tell them, he was poor in money, but the richest man I ever knew. My success, my life, my happiness all rest on the foundation he built with his blood, sweat, and silent sacrifices. I walk through life carrying his lessons, his love, and his spirit inside me. Whenever I feel tired or weak, I think of him walking miles without shoes. Whenever I feel hungry, I think of him starving silently so we could eat. Whenever I feel cold, I think of him shivering in the dark winter night without a blanket. And then I rise again, stronger, because my father's strength still lives within me. My poor dad, with his rich heart and silent sacrifices, was the greatest man I ever knew. His story is not written in books, not carved in stone, not sung in songs, but it is written forever in my heart. He may have been poor in the eyes of the world, but in my eyes, he was the richest of them all, and I will spend the rest of my life honoring the wealth he left me, the wealth of love, sacrifice, and endless inspiration.